Music speaks to everyone differently. Some casually listen, while others may really get into it.
For one man, it's meant 2 years creating a documentary centered around the Sioux Falls punk rock scene. In
tonight's Eye on KELOLAND, Max Hofer shares the progress and how the scene plays a huge part of the city's history.
The teenage years are an interesting time, as it's when most people try to gain a sense of identity. For Brian Bieber, he found his being kind of a punk.
I came up in the Sioux Falls punk rock scene, so when I was 14, I went to my first show at Nordic Hall, and that was it for me.
For Bieber, it wasn't all about the music, but more about the ideals.
You know, you don't wait for someone's permission to do something. If you have an idea, then you do it. You know, you make it happen.
Flash forward to today, while those times in the scene are distant, those ideals are kept close to his heart.
You know, the ideals that I developed from there have influenced pretty much everything in my life since then.
They're what inspired Bieber to take his latest project into his own hands. A documentary centered on that time and how it's influenced others who have grown up in that scene.
I just started to, wonder what was it about that time, what was it about that community that inspired these kids to turn into adults that were doing such interesting things.
This is his first time tackling a project of this scale. The film is titled, I Really Get Into It, The Underage Architects of Sioux Falls Punk.
It was about these group of kids who, figured out sort of what made them unique and that it was okay to be different, and how they took that feeling and that ethic into the world at large.
Over the course of 2 years, he went on location to 8 different cities and interviewed dozens of current and former members of the Sioux Falls punk scene. A time that was often overlooked.
All the adults looked at it and kind of judged it and worried about what their kids were going to do, and worried about their kids going to this place and doing these things. But really, it was a place for us to lay all kinds of groundwork for becoming productive individuals in society.
Members like Walter Ports recalls his days when he first moved to Sioux Falls as a teen.
And to see people that were unafraid to play music in front of their peers and music that they wrote and produced, seeing people make magazines on their own, seeing all the things that the culture was kind of weaving together, really laid a groundwork for me personally.
Ports is the founder of the Sioux Falls Skate Park Association and has been working to bring a concrete skate park to the city. He's also an accomplished artist.
From music to art to, architecture, all of that stuff has been impacted by all of us getting together and finding a place to call home and, to commune and to celebrate together in all kinds of different ways.
It also celebrates an often forgotten part of Sioux Falls' rich history.
Because, it's all tapes and records, right? So there's not really there's not a digital footprint from that time.
He says that despite it being focused on a select period in people, that message can strike a chord with anyone who sees it.
Having stories that you can identify with and that really tell the story of how that time in your life is so impactful to the rest of your life and how you proceed throughout life.
I think it's also just also a reminder that you don't need to ask permission to do something interesting.
With Eye on KELOLAND, I'm Max Hofer.